It's 9:50. Let's get started so we can keep on time. All right, so let's get back in the game here, guys. Obviously, it's goal setting time for the year. Now, again, one of the big things about goal setting, guys, is that there's millions of people talk about it, do it, all that kind of thing. Just gonna let you guys know, just to be super open with it. For 3-4 years of me pretending to do it or thinking about doing it, it's one of these things that's in all the success books. We're going to talk more and more about that. But if you're not wanting to make a decision or a thing that actually you want to change it and you're going to live by it and focus on it and do all these types of things, it's not going to work. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you. You can't just say, I want to make 200 grand this year and then not even know a plan to go get it or know what it's going to take to go get it. Do you know what I mean? The responsibilities that we get and all that kind of stuff, even for sales leaders and to people that want to be districts and all that kind of stuff, we all know this. Your responsibilities go up, but your rights go down. And it's something you cannot not just show up. You can't do those types of things, right? You've got to make sure that you're going to be putting the effort in to go get what you want. Because if it was just easy, guys, everybody would be doing this. It's as simple as that, right? This is something that's hard right now. I believe in the next 1 year to 2 years, it's going to become a whole lot easier as the skill sets gets up, the commitment gets up, and then people start to find out who we are and how professional we are. Because remember, we're battling not just with the industry, with also the old way of the company and whatnot. So we're doing something that's strong, that's smart, and it's going to be done really, really well. So hang on. But also at the same time, you got to make a commitment to this team. Is one of the biggest things for the goal setting this year is that I'm going to show up, I'm going to do whatever I can. I'm going to say what I'm going to do, sometimes more, but never less. But I'm really, really excited to talk about what this team's going to go do this year. But you got to look to the left of you and look to the right of you and be like, I need to be able to count on this person, that this person's going to show up with me, to be with me, to go through the tough times, the good times, so we all can get better. Because it's such a hard game, guys, just to go out here and just be like, let's go figure this out. And then you're constantly just in the battle by yourself. But if you come here, you show up and you're like, oh, what did Summer do this week? Or what did this person do this week? Is it that simple? Sometimes it's that simple, not easy, but it's just that simple. So that's why we have to come together. So goal setting this, guys, I'm just going to let you guys know that we're going to start off. We're going to do a little bit of review, obviously, because you got to know what happened last year, what's going to go on this year. What we're also going to do here is for your SLs, myself and Dan are going to make sure we get how many weeks you had in field last year, your APV, if you want to know from last year, so you can know where to improve on some skill sets. Another thing we're going to talk about today is what your plan is. We're not going to go in too much detail. We're going to talk about it again today, but I would spend the next day or a couple of days to actually draw out a plan for yourself to make it real, because until you put it on a piece of paper and you put it up, it just doesn't become real, because then no one knows about it. It's just right here. Oh, I want to become successful. Awesome, right? Everybody kind of does. So it's the same type of platform here, and then we're also going to talk about tracking numbers, and then we're going to do a goal setting sheet at the very end to sum up everything that we'll be doing each week. We did it before, but we're going to start doing it each week. And then I know there's a lot of people in the room like, okay, it definitely works this way because it's repetitive, right? Because it might not be this week, it might not be next week, but maybe 5 weeks from now, you're going to be like, okay, enough's enough. I've seen other people start succeeding in their weeks. Let me go put it into action. So we're going to continue to be on point with it and consistent with it, that each week we're going to spend 5 to 10 minutes on your goal setting, doing it in the room, making sure it is happening, so that each week you can see, okay, I didn't do it this week, maybe next week's the week, or whatever it is, right? So we need to be consistent with that. We're going to make sure we do that. So what I would recommend in the future is making sure you have a book that you can now start putting your goal setting in, your gratitude and all that kind of stuff. So go out there, buy one. We don't want to supply these sheets every week, because then they just start showing up all over the office and they don't mean anything to you. Right, unless you have a duotang or whatever, duotang, who brings that word up, right? Bam, duotang. There's 5 words I have to use today, and that was one of them throughout the process. So Dream Team 2018, that's us. Let's have some fun today, guys. Get some shares, have some energy behind this. This is your goal setting. It's not going to be just today. It's going to be over the next little while, but take this time and this day, and then you have 2-3 more days to finish off the year, to get your goal setting, to get everything done, to get your taxes in place, to prepare what you can go out there and go do. So, why do we not plan our lives? I know we've talked about this, so I'm going to kind of skim through this. But the idea is that why do we don't plan our lives? Because we just don't know that we have to. No one's ever told us that you should have a plan in life, all that kind of stuff. Because, again, this easy one, we were led to believe that the future was predictable enough, and if we studied hard, we would obtain the work we wanted in an environment we understood, and we would live happy and successful lives. We've all kind of heard that one before. Awesome. Hey, Mark, can you mute yourself? I can't mute you. How did you become unmutable?
He's unmutable.
All right. But the idea behind this, guys, is like we just have to be honest with ourselves. Most of them no idea what we're doing in life. And that's why we need to come together here and build this thing up. Anybody that says, I know exactly what to do in life is just, in my opinion, full of it. You know, you do this. Yeah, maybe they don't have a big enough dream. Hey, everybody on Zoom, just make sure you guys mute yourselves. Somebody is swimming underwater. I think that's Martin. Martin, can you just make sure you mute yourself there, bud? That's... All right, so again, the idea behind this, guys, is that we know what to do in life sometimes. We get told, you know, this and this and this and that. But in all the books, goal setting shows up every single time. But for some reason, we don't go do it. Or we write it down one day for the year and we're like, that's goal setting, right? Goal setting is it's a consistency. It's a religious thing. It's, you know, it's something you have to become every single day with it. Or every week they have to have the focus on it because there's so many more distractions than ever. So if you don't have a goal and you're looking at it and you have a plan of what it's going to come and what it's going to mean to you, you can't just be like, I want to have $100,000. Well, what does that $100,000 mean to you? What do you get to do with that $100,000? What is $200,000? What does that feel like to you? Because if it's just about money, it'll never really come. I really believe that. If you can't picture yourself having, you know, I mean, I think Ray said, he says, true freedom when it comes to money is around $20,000 a month. And he's probably pretty right on that because 5 is going to go to taxes, 5 you can go to investments, and 10 grand you could probably live off for you and your family. It's a pretty good lifestyle. You can go on trips when you want, you can go do what you want, and he says that's kind of true freedom. But how do we get there, and how does that feel, and what does that look like for you? Because if you have the mindset that, you know, a couple grand, because I was talking to somebody at the gym, he's like, oh man, we're talking about stocks and bonds and stuff like that, and he's like, if I could just make 2 grand a month, he'd get by, right? And that's just his goal. It's small thinking. I got furniture delivered the other day, and the guy was just like, oh, I hate doing all this type of work. I wish I could have a government job because I heard that those guys do nothing, right? And I'm like, some of them don't and some of them do, right? But at the end of the day, this guy was happy to do nothing. So I'm like, you know how far away you are from happiness, bud? That you want to get into a government job to sit there and work 1 hour a day and then the rest of it just kind of pretend you're doing stuff? Been there. It's not the funnest, right? It sounds cool. Maybe better than what he's doing right now, but you have to understand that this goal setting thing is one of the biggest secrets out there. It's on all the books, but it's your decision to make it work. Oh, we gotta have to click this now. Obviously, this is the biggest part of it. I think everybody kind of likes this one. Our bird sitting on the tree is never afraid of the branch breaking because its trust is not on the branch, but on its own wings. Always believe in yourself. Again, you have to trust the process here. You have to understand to trust yourself for the first time. If you've done goal setting before or you don't understand the math behind it, you're just like, oh, I don't have to show up to this one. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm telling you, the people that set the goal, you might not hit your goal every single year, but if you get close to it, if your goal is just do not money because that's the easiest thing or weight, $200,000 this year, and you hit 185, is that worth it? Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty good, right? But the idea is that you have to set that goal that you know is attainable, and that's what we're going to talk about today, making sure everything shifts into place on what is. We're going to have a breakdown on numbers and all those kind of fun things today too. So always believe in yourself because you've got to trust yourself that you're good enough, you're going to be part of this team, that you deserve to be part of this team and how good we're going to become. But that means you're going to have to work on yourself, you're going to have to work harder. We've heard other people in this room, the coolest thing is, the best thing about the office here is you've heard people in this room do 15,000 APV sales. And 10,000 APV sales, and a business of 40,000 APV sales, 60,000 APV in 1 week. Those are pretty good weeks, right? You could pretty much take off the quarter if you wanted to, but now you're striving like, hold on. That's the kind of mindset, right? And we've had some agents come through here with big mindsets of what it is, and it's because their goals are just bigger. So you got to trust yourself so you know how to live. So the one thing I've learned in the last little while here is human beings have this crazy thing, and if you can hear people when they have opinions and they tell people what to do, it's this ability just to be right. It's one of our flaws. You know, we just got to fight to the grave. Edmonton versus Calgary. Edmonton's better because we have this person. Blah blah blah. This, but black, white. Canada versus USA. They'll just pick one of them just to fight with you, just so they can feel right, right? Because nobody wants to be wrong. The idea is that we have to take that aside and drop your ego on certain things and try to get down to what's the feeling inside of what's right and wrong, right? What's the middle ground, right? When you're in traffic and you're driving, and then you let somebody in, and they don't give you the wave, and somebody's honking at you, giving you crap because you let somebody in. Don't you feel that? Like, that person should have let me in. That person's so, but it's such a funny, weird thing, but there's always some right and wrongs in things. And I really believe that the code is what's right here. So that if you know that you're out here and you're making sure you're putting everything aside so that you can get better and stronger to help more clients. I mean, Darlene was just talking today. She was going through something. She was talking to some type of doctor on a very tough subject for her. And the lady, and how Darlene was handling it, the lady actually said, "You're the type of person that I want to be friends with." That's a great, a nice gesture. Most people don't say that anymore. Hey, I would like to be your friend. Like, that's like little kid stuff, right? Because they see something in that person of them shining. So awesome to Darlene, but that's the thing, is that if you're out there always just being the best you and doing that kind of stuff, it's client first, team second, individual third. So if you're not showing up to trainings, you're not showing up for your team, you're not doing those things, you're being number 3 all day. So this is where we need to get strong enough that we can, now we take this with easiness in Calgary and Zoom and everywhere, is to almost call each other out as an accountability to get better. Because you're not going to have anybody going, hey, you're not doing this, doing that, doing this. We're just going to start to get better with the code if it's always focused on client first, team second, individual third. Because the money will come. And you've heard anybody in this office that's become successful, it's because they're always giving themselves, they're always being here for the team, and then the money comes. I mean, Chan probably the first person to honestly live that, never even cared about her bank account, and that's why she was making, at the beginning, at the first 6 months, over 20 grand a month, and she was number 1 in the company. It's because she did not care about the bank account. So we have to understand this thing. So, if somebody's not being on the code, make sure that you let them know to be on the code. Again, at the same time, let's not go crazy with this. Hey, you're not on the code, you're not on the code. Make sure you are on the code, right? Don't be pointing fingers if you're not exactly where you're supposed to be, right? So it makes a lot of sense. Sound good with everybody? So that's the big focus of this year. Internalize the code, get on the code, make sure everything that you do for this team is to make sure that you're going to get stronger and better for the clients and the team. And then the money will come, I promise you on that. Okay, so we're going to get into 2017 in review. So make sure you have your pens, paper ready to go. In review, to know where we're coming from, did you accomplish what you wanted to last year? Did you accomplish what you wanted to last year? So just take a quick minute, go through that. Did you accomplish exactly what you wrote down maybe, or anything like that? Did you accomplish exactly what you wanted to accomplish last year? And a little bit follow up on that one. What did you accomplish? So write down the good things that you did accomplish last year. It's always a good thing to talk about, is the things that you did accomplish that maybe you didn't think you could accomplish. And then a follow-up question to that one also, guys, what were you unable to get this year? So what was a couple things that you maybe put on your list that you didn't quite get to? for whatever reason, sometimes you look back at it, you're like, oh, I could have got that done. But again, we took our focus off the goal setting and you forgot about it. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, it's a simple one for me to finish up on, to finish out the year. I could have pushed for it, but I didn't look at my goals. It's just one of those simple, funny things. All right, just take another 30 seconds to review that. Keep doing that. We're going to go a bit more review. So a nice little debrief of last year. Always, I mean, we do this, each day, every day, but the biggest point is debriefing what happened last year. So what's the first one? What worked in 2017? List down the things that worked that you did in 2017 that worked for you. A little bit of background music. Next one on that one. What didn't work? So no one always knows what did work, but what didn't work in 2017? Don't spend too much time on what didn't, but what could get better for next year? So what is something that you could work on a little bit better this year, whether it's your presentation, skill sets, mindset, reading more books? What is it that you could work on to get better for next year? Obviously, e-agent is probably a big thing too. And then the very last one of the review here, what did get better? So this is always a good thing to write down and to know what did get better this year. You got to know that you're improving all the time, right? All right, just take another minute here to finish up all that's on review. I take another 30 seconds to start finishing up. All right, so what we want to do now is just turn to your partner and just go through some of the, you don't have to do everything, just take about 2 minutes each side, each person. Maybe we'll get Janelle, can you lead the Zoom? Just a little bit of on the Zoom there, just to go through a few people's, what worked, what didn't work, what could get better, all that kind of stuff. Just go through people. Is that okay, Janelle?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Perfect, thank you so much. All right, so just turn to your partner, get a few shares going right across the board. Zoom here. So let's start coming back, guys. All right. Turn to your neighbor, give him a high five, and say 2017 was a blast.
2017
Bam.
2017 is a blast.
All right. So let's get a few. Let's get a few shares from in the room or on Zoom on, just one little quick thing that that you wanted to talk about your review, or something you recognized in your own self that a lot of times, hey, I didn't do goal setting last year. And maybe that's why the results I have is with the results I have. Or, hey, I accomplished some great things that I didn't even think I maybe accomplished, or I didn't even know I got better at so many more things. So anybody like to share one or two things on Zoom or in the room on what they've learned or grown on? All right, Summer.
In talking with Frank, I realized that the goals that I had in 2017 fell apart in 2017, and as that fell apart, this fell into my lap, and never did I ever think that I was going to work in insurance. And, all my goals now are more directed here.
Yeah.
And, if you had told me that at the beginning of 2017, I would have laughed at you and said, "Are you crazy?" Me in insurance. But it just goes to show that everything can change.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important to keep up with your goal setting, because if I look back at where my goals were at the beginning of 2017, none of this was in there. But by mid-2017, it was all about this. So it always changes. And so I think you have to keep up with your goal setting to keep up with what changes in your life.
Fantastic. Great share. D61 clap. Great job. It's 100% right. And that's something that we're going to talk about a little bit here. Is that we're going to do it quarterly, making sure we're doing a review every quarter to see where you're at and what's going on. Because sometimes it's that halftime or quarter alteration where you just have to have that little pep talk to yourself and like, okay, I kind of veered off here, but this is what I wanted to get. I had a plan. I had this idea, and maybe we can come back on. Or maybe this extra change has actually been something great in our life. The cool thing about what I love about this room and what D6 is most people in most businesses don't even goal set. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm going to lose weight this year. I'm going to lose 30 pounds this year. But that's, you don't really focus on it. You don't do anything like that. What we get to do here is you get to have people beside you, around you, to be accountable with it. So is anybody off of Zoom that wants to share a little something?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I just wanted to say that hearing people share on Zoom and just hearing the goals that they didn't achieve, but not letting that get them down.
Awesome.
I listened to your Wish Your Command, and they say don't put a time limit on things. So have your goals, but if you say I want to do this in 30 days and then it doesn't happen, that's when the doubt starts to come in, and that's when it doesn't happen. So as long as you just make your goals and you don't put a time limit on it, but you focus on them and you just keep thinking about them and you do what you're supposed to do, they will come in time. But it's just great to hear people not get down about not getting their goals, because that also doesn't work either. So that's good to hear.
Awesome, Janelle. D6, one clap. Great job. Yes, and we have Darlene in the back here, and we'll go to Rose to finish us off.
It was interesting just talking to Julie. Part of what I wrote down is that my goals weren't clear, so I'm not sure. But then when Janelle was talking, I started to realize that partway through the year, I changed my goals from getting a certain amount of APV to doing a certain amount of action, because I realized that the action was in my control. And talking to Julie as well is that when I was concentrating on the APV, I could get discouraged and go, oh, well, this is not working, and just kind of stop doing things for a while because I was discouraged. Whereas when I started to concentrate my goal on the goal of certain amount of action without the APV being attached to it, the APV happened. And it also meant that I just didn't get discouraged because I saw that I was doing the action and knew the action would pay off eventually. So
fantastic. We're talking a lot about that today. Great share, Darlene. D6, one clap. And then we'll just have Rose to finish us off.
Something along the same line as what Darlene said, but my biggest aha moment, I think, was when I was in the field for 11 weeks. Never thought about it, was out there for the clients. Then I wanted that 12th week, to be in the field for 12 weeks. I contacted people, I made phone calls, couldn't get nothing going. And I was laying in bed one night and I was going over my mind, why am I not getting anything? And it dawned on me, it wasn't about the client. It was about myself making that extra week. And that was a real aha moment, because you hear it all the time, you know, client, team, self.
Yep.
And it was about myself, and that was my aha moment.
Fantastic. Great realization. Let's give her a huge round of applause. It takes a lot, and goal setting, like we can hear it, can almost work in a negative favor if you put too much pressure on yourself. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Is it's got to be the activities. I'll tell you a little story at the very end here, that activities and consistency is the key, and it will come. But now the funny thing about that one is that what Rose did, she made some extra phone calls, but that's just going to be put it for the future, right? It made her go do something a little bit more, but it just doesn't pay out like that. You know, it isn't, it's a lot of people, I mean, I heard Gary Vee say it, he said one of the biggest problems, I think we talked about in the video last week, is that the youth and everybody around us, it's wants instant gratification. I did something, how come I'm not rich yet? And he's like, you know, he's 40 years old and he's the happiest he's ever been, because he's like, I'm just getting started, because he understands to be patient with how much time you got to put into it. But success doesn't happen in 1 year. Right? So we gotta understand that. So we're just gonna be consistent with our activities, showing up, being part of it, and then success will come. As soon as you trust yourself that the process is gonna work, it'll work. And like you can hear it. You heard it from Rose today and Darlene. I love my job. And then what did Rose say today? I love technology, right? That's phenomenal, right? But if you're like, oh, this is tough, this new age and whatever, it's gonna be tough, right? It's gonna be one of those things, but understanding this is gonna be a great benefit to us. So obviously knowing where you are from last year, it's a good thing. We probably recognized a few things in our lives. Live your dreams in 2018. This is that plan one, right? So make sure you have, we're not going to go in too much in depth on the plan, but we want to make sure that you're going to go spend some time on this, when you get home. And the reason why write a plan, one is direction. If you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going. It's as simple as that. And you can say it, but if you wake up like an accident each week, it'll be the exact same thing. The most successful people in the world have directions. There's something power in writing. They all write this down every single day. They have their goal boards. They have their vision boards. They have all these things. It might sound quirky to you and all that kind of fun stuff. At the end of the day, all the most successful people have this. Richard Branson, Elon Musk, all these, Steve Jobs, they all have their goal boards. They all have their goal things. It's all there because that's the success clues. And the last one here is because most people don't have a plan. It's one thing that maybe you can start challenging anybody in the room in the future here. It's just being like, hey, what's your plan? Because most people you ask that question to will just say, I got a plan. And then you follow up with a brain buster. So what's your plan? And they don't have anything, right? So do not be that person. If that's anything that you want to do in the next week here, have a plan for what your year looks like, for the things that you can go give. I have a plan to take my family on a vacation this year, and I'm going to stop at nothing to go get it done. Do you know what I mean? How could that be that, you know, maybe just at the end of the year you could have made just maybe an extra $2,000 and that would actually got to pay for that trip. But if you forget about your goal after week 1, and we're not going to let you guys do that in this office, we're going to make sure we're consistent with it and always holding each other accountable to it until it really clicks in for you. So obviously we need to go through this always. What is the big picture? So if you have a bit of problem with this, if you won the lottery right now, or somebody just gave you $2.5 million or whatever it is, what would you go do and who would you go do it with? This is the time to dream for this year what it is. Or maybe it's just $250,000. Somebody goes, here's $250,000. What would you do with it this year? Would you invest it? Would you take somebody on vacation? What would you go do with it? Take a minute here or 2 minutes to write your big picture goal. What's your year goal? Anything here. What is the big picture for this year that you want to accomplish towards your big, big plan? So just take a nice quick 1 or 2 minutes on this one, and then we'll kind of go through them a little bit quicker.
So is this a reality big picture, or is it if you won the lottery?
Reality. But I mean, but it helps people dream a bit, because it is possible here. There's people in this company that are making $1 million. So it is possible that maybe in a few years from now, you could be making whatever you want to go do. But some people just don't forget to dream. So it's like when I tell my brother what happens when you win the lottery, he gets excited and tells me he's going to buy me a house and do all these types of things. But most people don't really get to dream like that. So start thinking, what are those things that you really, really want to do if you just got given the lottery? Or because I know it's accountable and attainable in this business, go get it done. You know, it could also be, what does your shape look like? You know, where's your mental being? How's your family look? All that kind of stuff. Maybe improving our relationships. You never know. We have a part in there. What's the year one? What's this year that's going to set up that, to have that big picture? What could you accomplish this year? Just take another 30 seconds, another 30 seconds. Now with this one, guys, I know we did this maybe about maybe a month ago or 2 months ago to have your plan, have an idea for it, same type of thing. So what's the big picture? If you won the lottery, this is a bit of review for some people, but if not, you're taking the time to go home, write it on a big board like that. Go get a piece of paper like this size and write it up. Put it on your wall. Be a little bit crazy, right? We got to be a little bit weird out there so you can see it every single day. Somebody asks you, what's your plan? Oh, I got a plan. You know, you get to talk about it. So what's the next things here? With District 6, quick answer right here. How much money are you making and how much can you? You got to know, you know, in this type of business, I know in certain businesses before you go to school, it tells you exactly how much you're going to make. They tell you, and you can get your, you know, all that kind of fun stuff. You know, they say 60 grand a year. That's what you get to make is 60 grand a year. So the idea is, how much are you making now and how much can you? I mean, and we all know that in this business, you could make $1 million a year. And that's, we're in our infancy of what this company is going to be. Moving right along, for District 6, what are some great benefits and skills that you gain that are helping towards your goals and being the best you? Best example of this, guys, is like when I was in construction, I wasn't getting better because I wasn't speaking to people. I wasn't getting better because it was a negative environment. I wasn't getting better, you know, working on my skill set, selling, all that kind of stuff. What are some extra benefits here that are going to get you that much stronger? Sometimes people are like, well, I want to make $250,000 a year, or I want to become the top sales leader in this company. Well, then you got to start to look at the other people that are the sales leaders in this company, and you'd be like, am I putting in the effort that they're putting in? Am I putting the work in that they're doing? So what are some benefits and some skills that are going to get you that much better? If you guys look into Orlando and you saw some people speaking on stage, can you be like, you know what, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to go up in front of the stage and to give the best I got to make sure that, you know, I can, and what does it take for me to get on that stage? Some people get a little bit, hey, enough of Perry Wong, I want to get up in front of the stage, right? You know, when I get up there, if he can do that, I can do that kind of thing. Does everybody kind of get that in the motion? So you got to get hungry like that. So it's like, how can I get on stage and what does it take for me to get on there? So what are some benefits and great skills? So just take a couple minutes extra things. And the next question here, what are some other investment income streams or businesses what helps you towards your goal and being the best you? So obviously if you have some big goals out there, certain things that you can put some money into that might work out, or other things. Remember, this is our vehicle to go get us what we want to go get, but there might be some other things that you can do with that extra $5,000 in that month instead of just going and buying something, you know, that's not really going to benefit you. What are some other income streams or something that's going to be able to push forward for your plan to get your big goal? Now you got to be careful with this one here too, just so that you guys know. I mean, in Orlando, it was said really, really smartly by Joel, you can't chase two rabbits at the exact same time, right? So a lot of these things, you might have some other business that you can put a couple hours into a day, but you got to know which is the one that's going to give you the most income, the most potential to have it. Because you might have that job right now, which just might be able to pay the bills. It pays enough, make an extra $1,000, $1,500 a month just on something that you pick up on the side to guarantee that. But the real, when you understand that this becomes more reliable than a regular job and a basic income, when you start getting those paychecks coming in every month, this is the big stream. But, you know, noticing that you can't just do, okay, this day I'm going to do 5 hours and 5 hours, because some days it just gets too tiring, right? So don't chase two things, but at the same time, always be open to it. So even for myself, when I invest with stocks or whatever, I don't know nothing about it. And I really don't want to know nothing about it, right? But if I have money, I've just gone to my head, like, if as soon as it leaves my hand and it goes into that thing, I hope for the best. But I'm not stressed that that's gone. So if that goes away, it doesn't work out. So just for example, put money in Bitcoin, it skyrocketed, fantastic. I put money in something else, it didn't, it went away, right? But I don't care, because it's not something I need to invest my time and my energy into, but it could be a bonus, right? So if you have an extra couple $1,000s, maybe somebody opens up a new business and you get to be the first person to put money into it, and you believe it and you see it and you're like, oh, this might work out. Throw some money into it, maybe in a few years it goes like that, right? There's a lot of people that do that kind of stuff. So understand that these income streams are what can help you get to your final goal. But if you don't have the cash flow to go put money into it, then it's a lot tougher, right? Because I don't think you can put in an extra 30 hours a week of time into something when I really believe this is the greatest opportunity I've ever seen in my life for hour. Really, if you get right down to it, right? So, and then the very last one here, what is this year's plan? So this is where we get to draw it up on a piece of paper here. I'm going to go quickly through the one it should look like that I've done before in front of the room. I'm going to put it on the board also for the screen share. You have your personal promised land here. This is you. This is your big goal. This is your big thing at the top here. So make sure you have yours at the very top, and at the very bottom you have your D6 combined as your cash flow, right? And then you want to write down some certain things. So it's on the board. I mean, I can send this to you guys, but this is what your plan should look like, and it should even be bigger in my mind. So there's a lot of stuff I've left off here, but I just want to share it very quickly. You know, it's a great father, husband, son, business partner, friend, and human being, healthy and to reach 100 years old, not 100 pounds, a change in the world, and I want to make $100 million over a lifetime. Am I there yet? No, but now at least I have a plan, because I know that this business here can at least make $500,000 to $1 million a year. So if I know that I can do that, I can take that extra income. I'm not blowing it on stupid things. I'm investing it doing things like this. So investments, stocks, Bitcoins, I want to have 100 businesses. So this year my plan is to pitch into 5 to 10 businesses and startup. It might only be $10,000, but that's how they need that money at the beginning, and then before the shares start going, or you can get into some stocks. This side here, you have real estate. Obviously, we can talk about that in the future. I might even bring somebody in to just talk about, like, where we can put our extra money. Awareness, I have an awareness program on that thing, social media, books, speaking, all this stuff kind of goes up towards my goal, right? So I could spend 15, 20 minutes telling you guys more steps of what I'm doing, but the idea is at least I have a plan to get here. Some people are just like, I want to be a billionaire. Well, what are you doing every day? Well, I don't wake up till noon. Boom, you're going to be killing it in this future, right? There's only so many billionaires in the world, or there's only people that are millionaires. To be honest, it's not easy to be a millionaire, right? It sounds easy if you hear stories about it, but when you really get down to it, it's not as easy as it is. Like there's a lot of effort in having a plan to go get in there and getting it done. So this is the idea. This is the greatest vehicle. So some of the great things about it, underneath here, you want to put the skill set. So it's an entrepreneur platform. Personally, myself, I get to learn from so many different entrepreneurs from different walks of life here that I personally learn. I'm like, oh, that's smart. And then we all use that together. We're not just like, this is the way it is, that's the way it goes. We're like, if Frank goes out and proves something that he's done, he's working on, then he gets to come here and share it in front of the room, because we need to use what's working. If Dan, Chan, you name it, all that kind of stuff. It's just rhymed, that's awesome. Saving lives. I mean, having a real impact in the world. I mean, a lot of people, it's not based on APV like Darlene said. The only reason we use APV is because, again, at the end of the day, it's something to track, and the company talks about it. We don't be like, the company's like, hey, this person has this much APV, and we're like, we don't believe in that. Like we gotta have something to track onto it, right? So it's just it's an idea, because at the end of the day, APV equals income, and that's what we need to pay our bills with. So obviously here, credibility and cash flow. We get to change an industry. What a story that you get to be part of something that was like, I was part of D6 back in the day, when we were still writing on paper apps. Great partnerships, personal development, and then our own branding for what this business is going to look like. Because we're just getting started, and this year we're going to put in some serious effort on what it is. But you got to know what this is. So I need you to go home, take some time on this one. Really do, because I honestly, if I can come up to you next week and be like, what's your plan, Blair? And Blair's like, well, I'm going to wake up at noon. It's not going to be what we're looking for here. You got to be here, because when people hear like what this really is a vision. Let's just get right down to it. And people say, without vision, people perish. They're just kind of going through the motions each week, waking up like an accident. Oh, I'm hoping everything's going to work out. You don't become rich because you brush your teeth. It sounds crazy, I know, but it's a lot of people think that. I know because I see it in my sister, I see it in my brother. They're good people, but at the same time, they're also frustrated in life because they're not doing the things that they know that they should be going out there and doing. So you got to know that this is not easy, but you got to have a plan. So when somebody asks you, what's your plan? You got one. Make sense with everybody?
Yep.
Awesome, Zoom. Thank you guys so much. So here's our D6 plan. So this is the cool one. To break it down on the certain things that we need to work on to attain. We're going to go into income on the next slide a little bit here. But the obviously thing here is sales agent. How much can I make? You need to write that down. How much you want to make this year on your sales agent plan. You have here, you get to save lives. You get to know how to sell. Knowing how to sell is one of the greatest skill sets in the world.
Absolutely.
Because once you know how to sell and to sit down in front of somebody and get them to see your point of view, but also to be on their side of the point of view, it's one of the greatest things in the history of the world. But a lot of people in the world say what? Oh, I can't sell. Well, then they're selling you right there on how they can't do it, right? It's the weirdest philosophy, but everybody can sell, but it's about being, you know, as RJ says, it's keeping that emotional intelligence right there level with that person you're sitting across with to making sure that you're understanding their needs and all that kind of stuff. It's not about you, it's about the client. So know how to sell, lifestyle, stay at home with the kids. If you want to, you can have the time to go on a vacation to take with your kids or to do that kind of stuff, right? Obviously, as you become a sales leader and district leader, responsibilities get a little bit different because people need to count on you, but at the same time, you also have leverage and you can go on a trip. The idea of what we're trying to do with D6 here, guys, is that you don't have to work every single day. Over time, even if you're a district, you'll be able to rely on the system so that you can make the income, that you can use your skills and somebody else's skills from another district to all hold this into play. That's the power of what this is.
I got
Yeah, Paige wants to say something.
I always heard Dan, when I first started, always say, oh, it feels so good to go on vacation and get paid while you're in your destination. And then when I was in Orlando, I got my paycheck and I wasn't even like here. So that felt really cool. So that's something that now is very real for me because you can actually go away, have that leverage, have that time with your family and your friends and still get paid. So the option's there.
Fantastic, Paige. D6, one clap. It's exactly what it is, right? And maybe Dan took a couple, you can talk to him about it, an extra couple trips, right? But every time he went away, he was just like, oh, well, an extra $2,000. This seems to be working out, right? Obviously, but you have to put the time in here, right? So don't be in your first year. Maybe this year is 2018 is like, you know what? I need to go prove it to myself that this needs to work this year. So I want to go on vacations, but maybe I won't go on as many because maybe next year is my year to go do that, or maybe towards the end of the year or whatever it is. So knowing that, guys, it's a big, there's a big scary thing sometimes, right? Becoming an insurance expert, I mean, that's really cool that, you know, we can be an expert right across the board and people come to us, but we're not ever putting down any other insurance company, but we also know that we can add way more value than most insurance companies out there. And I personally wouldn't be doing insurance if it wasn't for this company. Speaking in front of people, I mean, this you get a chance to give your highlight of the week, or you do out there and prove something, you become, you know, whatever you want to do, you have a chance to come in front of the room. We want more speakers from Calgary, from even from your own Zoom, that you can do your own, you know, your own talk. Obviously, a couple things, you got to be prepared. And if you're going to be doing a training, I'm going to make sure, you know, we review it and make sure it's on point so that we can stay within the guidelines. So we're always getting better and stronger, because the cool thing is that we're bringing on a lot of high quality people, just as your guys yourselves. You want to make sure that the standard right across the board is very high. I think we talked about that in Orlando. And then obviously your network is growing in this room. You got some of the best, you know, networkers out in the world that can help out in many avenues of your life, but you're also learning how to network. Most people do not have any intention with networking. They just kind of hope about it, right? And if you start to put these things into action, you will know thousands and thousands of people, or more importantly, they'll know who you are and what you represent. Might even become the president of the United States of BNI. Okay, we're going to stay with this one here. So does that make sense here, guys? So here's a few things that we need to work on too. So it's in there. Obviously, you want to be personally developed. You want to be reading more, growing more. I heard Dan talking about it. He's like, I want to make sure I'm reading more books, all that kind of stuff. Getting more sales. Finding your niche, finding what your focus is, you know, if it's a stitches guy or whatever it is, what's your niche? What is something that you can do all, but you got to find something that you're going to be, you know, better at targeting, right? Because there's 1 million people in Edmonton and we have like 20,000 customers. It's crazy. customers, clients. Branding, people call you. This is something else you want to be building your brand. But as you know, as real estate agents, there's 3,500 real estate agents in Edmonton, but you'll only notice top 10, 15. That's what you have a chance to be here, is that, and remember, real estate is like, some people only move once in their lifetime. Here, everybody needs insurance, and their families need insurance. So there's a million actual people for us to go out there and get to, so that the possibilities are endless. Over here, so what are the things I have to work on? So sales, I got to be warm, business to business, lead cards, referrals, whatever it is, I need to start working on these things. How can I get better on these this year? Do I want to go business to business this year? Can I work on my referrals? All these types of things. How am I going to go build my business? Sales 2.0, tracking, attendance, learning the claims, learning more policies, being perfect on the e-agent. How can I get faster with it so it's even, less threatening to, it's like you can just be that much quicker, because it's going to take a bit of a learning curve. It's going to be a little bit of time, but once you get going through it, and we're going to have a lot of trainings on how people are moving through it a lot quicker and getting to the point, right? So we can use some little cheat sheets with that over time. Obviously, knowing the industry that much better, knowing what other policies are out there. We can't take away certain things from other companies. We want to make sure we're just adding value. And then obviously here, attendance. There's a direct correlation with people that show up and be part of this with their success. It's as simple as that. And if you think you can go beat it because you want to be right, have at her. But I'm telling you, it's almost impossible if you don't have your focus on 2 days a week. 2 days a week to come here, to learn, to grow, to be on Zoom, to stay in attention. I guarantee if you want to get above $200,000, when people say 80% of winning is showing up, it is because your focus is there, you're growing. Now you obviously got to be present at the same time, but I'm telling you there's something massive here, and we're going to make sure we're tracking these things this year. Then up here we're going into income, sales leader, we'll go into all that stuff right afterwards. Does that make sense with everybody? So you got to have a plan of what your sales agent wants to be to get to combined, and then combined, if you look at how it went here, this is combined, and on the previous sheet you have combined here, and then it's your goal, right? And then this is your plan to get to it. But this is the fuel of the things you need to work on. We all know what to do, right? If you don't have a presentation today, practice. Call somebody up on the phone and do a practice presentation with them. Do something that's always going to be giving you in the right direction. So the next one here, agent income. Now we've broken this down in so many different ways. Now we know we get paid up like 50% up front and all that kind of fun stuff. But that gets kind of confusing to a lot of people, and it gets like, oh, okay, it's too much, and we're planning for the year. So we're going to break it down to simplest math. If you want to make $140,000 this year, and you can do this math, it's very simple. That's just 70% of $200,000. Simple as that. We're not going to talk about bonuses, because bonuses just extra on top of that, right? That it can kind of bounce out with maybe some cancellations or whatever it is. But if you do 200,000 APV this year, you'll probably make over 140 grand. And if you've been in this for a year, you're going to have some residuals kicking in already. But you'll, by the time, if you started right now, you start having month 10, 11, 12 start kicking in. And then when you hear Dan talking about he's on vacation, he's getting checks, it's because it all kind of gets swamped like that. You'll get a few extra $1,000 a month kicking in that month. And I've seen Audrey many, many times of her, being on vacation or doing her thing, and she's still getting the same checks. So this thing does work that way, but we're just going to say very simple. 140 grand this year, it's 200,000 APV. Very, very attainable, right? So let's break it down to a little bit easier. That's 50,000 per quarter. So you have 3 months till we get 50,000 per quarter. Now, this is attainable because we've seen it happen time and time again. Mary's done this, and Marie's got close, Dan's come close, and obviously a few people in the past here hit well above that, and that's where you can have your income coming through just as an agent, right? Which is only 3.8K per week. It's not as crazy as it sounds, right? Some people are like, oh, I need to make sure I have 10,000 APV a week, right? But 3.8K a week, that's your trying to make sure every single week you will make 140 grand this year. And how we know is because we can actually track the numbers, and we'll talk to the sales leaders about it, but that is exactly what that every single week you're hitting 3.8K. So if you take a week off and you get 0, that's fine. Your average just has to be about 3.8K. The cool thing is though, guys, I mean, we have Julie in the room. We have so many different stories of people doing 15,000 APV, right? So you don't know when it's going to come, right? What? In one appointment or 1 week or 20,000 APV. We've had people do 50,000 APV in a week. So it's so possible. But if you're looking at like, you know what, I got to help out as many people and clients as possible do the activities, I will run into something bigger. I will run into a business, but I got to continue to do this to make sure I get that.
Yeah, that's only 6 HEA, $56 HEAs a week.
Yeah. 100%. So it's, Angela was just saying, where's that, Mike? You were just saying?
Yeah, if you do the calculation on that, just to break it down to the very simplest, now I call it our flagship product, the HEA.
Yeah.
So a $56 HEA is about, if you had 5.65 per week, that would be the 3.8K.
100%, right? So that's how fantastic it is. Now, I just want to get you guys to understand. I remember you guys remember Brent, he came to the office here. They would do like 30 presentations a day. And they would do sign-ups of 10 people a day because they're going out there and doing the work to make a quarter because the pay wasn't good enough. So you really needed to, it kind of puts things in perspective because it's just like, this guy had to go do that because that was the only way to go make money in this business, right? But the thing is that sometimes we compare ourselves to somebody else in this business being like, oh, that person just did one sale and got 15,000. How come I don't get that? It just doesn't work like that, right? You got to go put the effort in. And when Darlene's talking about, hey, you know what, maybe, you know, we're going to talk about in a bit here, maybe making sure you're doing at least 1 presentation to 3 presentations a day is not that bad, right? And that's why we invented the Sizzle, because you can actually sit down at a coffee shop, show them what it is, and then get them to a second appointment to go show them what the next part is, right? Our job is to go out there and educate as many people about this. They remember you because you're likable, trustworthy, and confident. They're going to come back to you. That's the power of what we need to go out there. We need to go out there and talk to as many people as possible, and whatever which way you want to go do it, right? That's pretty much the name of the game here, and that's how you make income. So that's why Brent was in the field for so much. I'm personally saying that that wouldn't be the greatest opportunity I've ever heard. You have to do 30 presentations a day. You know, here you can do 5 presentations in a week and still make more money than he made, which is unbelievable, but that's the power of what we can do here. So if I want to make $100,000 a year, that's 150,000 APV in a year, right? So this is 100 grand a year on your own time, on your own battle. You're not working 60, 70 hours a week. I mean, sometimes we forget to make 140 grand up in the oil field, you are working probably 70 to 80 hours a week. My sister does that. And she, as much as she's making good income, funny enough, in this province right now, 50% of her income goes straight to taxes. No questions, no nothing. It's gone. So she should be making 200 grand. Every time she puts in more overtime, she loses money. But here, this is based on your own effort. You can make sure you're finding the right write-offs. We're going to do all that kind of tax stuff too. So another breakdown, that's only 37.5 per quarter. This is a very attainable thing. A lot of people in this room have done that already in a certain quarter, which is only 2.8K per week. So that's very, very attainable. That's pretty much that winner score that we talked about, right? If you're doing a winner score each week and you're consistent with it, minimum that, never, you know, sometimes more, but never less, you will make 100 grand in here. But you got to be consistent on it. So if you do miss a couple of weeks, that's okay. There's nothing wrong. That's their business. But you got to be consistent that you're staying on float, because you will hit a 5,000 week. You will hit a 75. You will hit a 15,000 K week. But that's not the time to be like, okay, I've set it up, because you got to be like, okay, I hit 20,000 this week, but how many weeks did I not hit my 2.8? Right? It's one of those things where you just stay on the float, consistency, doing the activities. I mean, Dan, you can sit down with Dan and people like that just consistently with that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden a nice explosion happens. Now, 50 grand a year. 50 grand a year can get you through a lot of things in life, especially if you're not giving away 50% of it, right, to the government. So obviously on 50 grand a year, you're probably only paying about $7,000, $8,000 in taxes. It's probably a nice thing that you can, do that. You can write off a certain amount of things, your gas, all that kind of stuff. But that's very simply only 18.8 per quarter. That is something super attainable in this office, right? Which I love this magic number here, 1.4 per week. So if Angela wants to do the little, do the little math on that one, if 2 HEAs? 2 HEAs a week on average. And remember, we have family plans too, which even makes it that much easier. 1.4K a week. This is just breaking down to the simple. if you're like, you know what, I'm going to make sure I do 1,500 APV every single week. That is my goal. And again, some weeks won't happen, so don't get beat up on yourself. But if you consistently step up that week, that doesn't mean you go, oh, I didn't get it that week, so the next week I'm just taking off because I feel, you know, pouty. It's your life at the end of the day. Like, you go through that motion on yourself. You know, have your pouty week the next week, that's on you. Does that make sense with everybody? Pretty simple. 1.5K is going to give you 50. You double that up, you're going to get over 100,000. The math's here, it's simple as that. And we know that this is what's going to happen here. So it's just being in field, being consistent, and not putting the pressure on yourself, because this is very, very attainable. Yeah. Yeah, you bet. Hey, just click it on.
I just wanted to say for the new agents that 1.4K is 1.4 APV, not dollars. So if you want to convert any of these into dollars, you just divide by 12.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. And we're just taking 70%. So a lot of people that are in these ones, just so that you guys know, there's a lot of bonus, because now you're doing more than what you needed to do in the few weeks there, in the month cycle of 4 weeks. You'll be way above it. So you'll be hitting bonuses of an extra $1,000 once you get into these levels. So that's why it starts to jump, right? I've seen Sophie Daggles and all that kind of stuff as agents making $250,000 a year just as an agent, and they do it the old school way. Most of her stuff is not new face. All right, so just a quick one for sales leader when we read across the board. Become a sales leader, or you are a sales leader. You want to be getting to 10 to 25 agents. This is your key. This is your goal. I think, you know, at the lower end of this, you're still in the field. You're still doing your things. When you get to about 20 to 25 people, you're going to notice your time. You don't have as much time for that, but that's when leverage kicks in. Obviously, as the cool thing about being a sales leader now is we're working on some things in the back end with corporate to make it even more lucrative. But the biggest thing right now, guys, is you don't even have to check paperwork as much anymore. And in 4 months from now, you don't have to check it. It's going to be sent in, everything like that. So you're going to get to go out there and field train, be there for your team, and build it. And I think that's going to erupt our business, because as sales leaders know right now, checking paperwork, not the funnest, right? And then fixing situations where somebody missed a signature or wrote in the wrong box, all that kind of stuff, that's a lot of headaches and stuff like that you don't want to deal with, but you got to right now. But in the future, that's going to be gone. So this is something that can be really true leverage, and that's the best thing about being in this business now. Again, this business here, guys, the coolest thing about it, what I love about it, is you promote yourself. You know, you're like, oh, I'm not good at recruiting. Then it's going to be very, very tough to get here. If you're not good at it, maybe learn and practice, talk to people that are doing well at it, finding new ways, finding all that kind of stuff. Whatever it is, this is how you can get to some true leverage here. And it's something that maybe you want to focus on in 2018 even more. Talk to more people about what is, and then it's going to be my job to also help out all the sales leaders and anybody in this business that wants to grow, because I'm going to have a lot of intention on helping them, finding the right people, and getting in front of their top people, making sure they can add to this. Because when we're showing the income that we have, the more people come on board. But you got to know that's the strength. And then a district leader, you can make 250,000 to $1 million. Again, you're going to have 25 to 100 agents. We have a standard that's different across the company. Guys, like I said, with our business, we did, you know, close to 30,000 last week, where most of those districts didn't even show up. You know what I mean? This week we may not do as good, but like we're consistently definitely going to be around the 20 to 30,000 mark, so that when somebody finds out you're a district with D6, they know you're making minimum $250,000 a year, and that you're always consistently building. And we have a network in here, because in the future, I really see this becoming that we can all rely on each other. We have, you know, we'll obviously have different offices and all that kind of stuff in Calgary, Edmonton, BC, you name it, but we all can rely on each other. It's run like a system here that everybody can just plug into it. Even if you want to go on vacation as a district, it's okay. It's not going to be shut down, right? At the end here, just to be quickly with this, guys, to become a district leader, Angie, you guys know Angie out there, right? So we look at our district. We're definitely too high. That's why the standard is high here. But do you think Angie takes a day off? Unless she's on vacation. But that shows you it's possible. And that might not be for you. And that's the cool thing, because it's not about that. It's not all about money. But at the same time, it shows that it is possible that she can go out there and do that. Now, what we can go do here is use each other's strengths. We might be able to make it easier to get to the halfway mark of $500,000 a year and not be putting that every single day. But if you want to go make these types of things, let's just be straight up honest. You want to start making $150,000 to $250,000 a year, you got to put the effort in. Just because you're part of this team doesn't mean you get to, it just doesn't work like that. You're going to have to go put the effort in, what it's going to look like, the time, making sure that, you know, you're not, you got to be accountable to your team. Right? Remember, if you don't show up one time as a sales leader or district leader, it's a chance for somebody to be like, well, how come you didn't show up? I don't have to show up, that kind of thing. So it's one of those things where your responsibility has to be that much higher because this is what the people are counting on you guys, right? Sound good? But those are pretty fun numbers, I would say. Just me. Frank liked that one. So the big picture of what we are here, guys, D6 combined, code of honor. We get to change an industry together. So look at all these districts coming around the board. No one in the company is doing what we're doing. We can say, you know, Perry Wong's #1, but he hasn't promoted anybody, right? So what's going to happen by the end of this year if you're like, okay, I want to make sure I'm ready to be a district and to make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. What does it look like? How does it be? You don't just get to arrive there, right? Because we see there's been a lot of other districts in the company that they might get their APV for a little bit and then it goes straight down because it's not one of these things. We're building something that's going to last, but that's what's going to be different. We're going to change an industry, becoming professionals that everybody can count on, everybody in this room that they're a professional, educating the mainstream. Very, very exciting that we have a product that no one else has. And most people in insurance are still cuckoo, thinking that this doesn't exist. Like, oh no, life insurance is the only way to go. Oh, okay. How many of the use are you getting to right now? Because this is something that, honestly, if those other Yahoo companies, you know, we're talking about some of the network marketing ones, if they actually understood and opened up their mind and found out how good this is, it would blow up their business. So we have something here that no one has, but we got to make sure we go at this full blast this year because we don't want somebody else to come here and start and take what we have, right? Save millions of lives, that is definitely our goal, and a huge story that you were part of something. Maybe for the first time in your life where you had to actually be in the room before something actually really did start. And that's going to last. Because I've seen a lot of different businesses. And insurance, the crazy thing with insurance, it's always here. It's so many, you guys talk to other insurance people in the industry, they've been here for years and they're making even more income. It's recession proof. It's something, and what we have is even bigger than that. So we have that one thing. But what in the vision of what we can go do here and see is that we don't know what this is going to look like in 2 years. Paperwork is gone, guys, in 4 months. You know what I mean? I just figured out the other day, why do we have 2-hour cash outs? Because it was a lot just for us to cash out for 2 people. So we would give them right now, I'm like, why are we in 2-hour gap? Short it down to 1 hour. We have more sales leaders. The paperwork's going to be gone anyway, so we'll make sure the people come in at that time. We have more than enough people to help out at that certain time. It's going to be that much better. This company is going to be moving in the right direction. And some people are like, oh, you know, there's other companies that have this, this, and this. We'll get that. But they know that need to focus on this because this is the thing that's changing the game, and we get paid faster than anybody else out there. Obviously, so we need to go to communities, we need to go to athletes, we need to go to businesses, we need to find high risk, we need to find the stupid, all that kind of stuff out there to find what your niche is and what this is. We need to get to every single person out there. If you guys think this is, you know, I mean, our market is completely open to absolutely everybody. We just got to be that much better at educating them. Do you know what I mean? And be like, okay, I need to use Dan's skill set. I need to use Angela's skill set, Paige's skill set, you know, Frank's, you name it, all these different skill sets, Anne-Marie's, Chan's, you name it, all across the board so I can get better so we can make sure this is a system. Our goal here in the next quarter here is to have almost everything systemized so that we have a plan that we can just tweak as we move forward. But that's the goal in the next 3 months here. Also on our iPads, guys, we want to have a nice little cool video, a minute thing that you can send to people or show people just beforehand. That's going to be that sketch art one. That's just going to make it very simple, make it a lot of fun. That's going to be on your iPad. Definitely working on that one. A lot of good things on those aspects. I'm going to even headline that myself and just make sure that in the next 3 months, we're going to get those things done for you guys, so it makes it easier and easier every single time. And then we can add, improve, fix. Because who's thought that the D6 video right now has helped out quite a bit? Yeah? So interviews, all that kind of stuff, you get to send them that. If they're not interested, sweet. Don't waste your time. If they are interested, fantastic. Grill them, ask the questions, get them out to the second interview. But honestly, guys, I'll tell you, our system works so well compared to others is that by the time they get to the second interview, I'll know within 30 seconds if we're going to keep this person or not. Because that person's already gone through the loops. The people that are referring them are good people, you know, and that's the quality that's coming through the ranks. And if they want it, and if Evangela goes to me, hey, Mark, you know, maybe this person, I'm not sure if they really want it. I push them through to the second interview, but can you find out if they really want it? Then I can just go at them and find out what it is. Because at the end of the day, if anybody's joining our team here and we need to expand, But when they join our team, it's going to be a standard when they come in this room that they're going to show up, be part of this team because they can make a phenomenal income and have the great lifestyle. So how the system, online marketing network, we're going to do all the right things here as much as we can do it from the district point of view. But at the end of the day, we just need to make sure that everybody in this room is going out there making an income, because that will bring in more and more people, more skilled people, and more people will find out about this. Because at the end of the day, the higher APV that we do, the more people are getting our products. So that's where you can measure that kind of stuff. Make sense to everybody? Everybody kind of excited? Yeah. I'm excited. 2018, every year kind of goes by. So this is one of the things that's going to help us go to the next level. Now, this is not for myself, for Ray Young, for your sales leader. This is for you. Can you take a screenshot of this? I think this is for you to track your own stuff, your own results. Now, I would also put this in a book yourself and just kind of like track it, make it something maybe on your iPad, as Angela would do. I'm going to pass a couple back to the back there. Maybe just pass one to those guys. I'll give you another one after. I'll give you guys a couple more afterwards. Yeah, I'll get one afterwards. So here is easily just for yourself to be accountable to yourself. So take it out that, oh, I don't like tracking my numbers. I don't like tracking anything else. This is for you, right? Also, at the same time, your sales leader, if you want to come to them, I'll run some more over afterwards. But if you want to, honestly, guys, go to your sales leader and be like, hey, I'm struggling right now. And then your sales leader goes like this, well, what's your activities? What are you doing each day? How's your presentation? All that kind of stuff. Let's have a look at it. And you have this set up for them for maybe 2-3 weeks of doing this kind of thing. You can show them exactly what it is. So if you have 10 texts a day, 3 calls, your conversations is 6. So that's probably pretty good that you're getting, your texts and your calls are getting you conversations. But let's say your bookings is 1. So 6 to 1. Now your sales leader or your district or whatever like that can be like, okay, so what are you saying here in the conversation? So you've obviously got them there to book an appointment, but are you just saying, oh, I need money, I need an appointment with you? Like, it's not going to work out. So we need to be able to fix that. Or maybe it's all good here and then your sizzle's off, your presentation, your close, your APV. This is to track for your own business. And the cool thing about this is that you're like, you know what? I don't work Tuesdays, Mark. And take off Tuesdays. This is your business, right? I mean, I wouldn't do that, I don't do these, that's not going to work out. You're in the wrong room, right? But honestly, the only things that we take for here in this room, and you talk about hires, the people that you're putting through the group, so you can just put here hires, putting somebody through the platform to be building yourself, or attendance. That's Mondays and Thursdays that we ask. Some weeks you're going to be like, you know what, next week's just a Wednesday. So you can just put that in there. I've got 1 for 1. You can put your little scorecard at the bottom. 1 for 1 or 2 for 2. There's a direct correlation, and guys, I'm honestly just being straight up honest with you. I see people come and go in this business, and the people that stick around is this. Because your focus is here, you're here being part of the team, you're going to learn more for your clients, but as long as you go 1, 2, 3 weeks without being part of something, you just evaporate. It's just one of those things. There's too many distractions in the world. It's too easy. So attendance here is going to be very big. And, we obviously take attendance, Dana does all the time, but the idea is that you need to be accountable to yourself. You know what? And then you go back in your book and you're like, oh, why was I succeeding so good at this time? Oh, I never missed a training. And look at my calls, my texts were all up there. Oh, I didn't take off, 4 days a week, right? You get to have a look at your own business. So I would say each week we can spend always a couple minutes of you just, what does that look like every single day? Put it on a wall. Have it in your book, have it in your iPad. I would actually maybe put it in your iPad. Angela probably has it there already. Just to track it every single day and being like, I'm accountable to me. And then you can be like, you know what? Maybe in the future we can actually have somebody that's like, I'm doing really, really well, show the numbers, because over time you want to be duplicatable, right? So that if you're doing this now, your team will start to do this in the future. So making sure you're just duplicatable with this. Does this sound good with everybody? Yeah. This is not to scare anybody. This is not to be like, oh, Mark's going to ask for the numbers or something like that. I just want people to win, right? And if this helps out, and we've known this helps out, we play, right? I mean, even get down to maybe just say a little bit about it.
One thing I want to say is that, you know, in this business, you have control of your income, but you have absolutely no control of your income if you're not tracking your numbers. So, I mean, if you want to make a certain amount of income and you fill this out, you'll know exactly your pain points, the areas you need to work on and improve, and the areas that you're doing well in. If you don't do it, you're basically just like going week by week, kind of floating around doing your business. And you can still make APV doing that way, but you have no actual control. The knowledge of your strengths and your weaknesses and areas you need to improve are directly translated through this piece of paper here, and that is how you control your income, 100%.
Fantastic. Let's give him a D6 one clap. Great job, Dan. And that's exactly what this is for, is that you are now being accountable to that APV or to that whatever your goal is. Now it's broken down to a weekly basis of what your daily activities are. And you could even add at the end here, you know, study, right? Make sure you did 30 minutes to study, just with a nice little click here on 30 minutes to study or something like that. Hey, I didn't do a presentation today, but guess what? I still went and practiced one. That still counts because it's doing the action, it's doing the activities to get you guys where this is. Could be the greatest sheet. I almost came out wrong. This could be the greatest sheet that, you know, can ever happen to you because it's accountable to you. Do you know what I mean? But this is your own business at the same time. So the big things I would focus on is making sure you put in your time for your family and whatnot. But if you're at least doing a few calls a day, I mean, Rose said it best when she said, I don't want to put too much pressure on myself, but I'm going to at least make 3 phone calls a day. You know, that's going to, and then look at she got 11 weeks in field because she just made a consistent thing. So when you get to look back at this and you're like, okay, this last 2 weeks, I only got 0 on the APV, but now I look back at it and I was like, I just wasn't doing the activities. Let's see one of the weeks when I did 15,000 or 7,500, or let's look at the weeks before that, what was leading up to it. That got me the results, right? It's one of those cool things that you can track yourself, especially out for the first quarter. So give it a go, right? And we're going to continue to talk about it every single week. We're going to ask for, you know, just to make sure you pull it out and you start, you know, filling out your numbers from last week, just to make sure you're accountable to it. We're going to stick with it quite a bit, just to make sure, because I'm telling you guys, this right here is for you to go out there and win. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Fantastic. So, and the whole point of it is be urgent and relentless with your activities and patient with your results. Just know that this is this business, guys. You're going to get better by showing up, being part of this. You're going to have to go. What is the thing about being a master at 10,000 hours? You guys all heard that before? To become a master at something, you have to put 10,000 hours. Well, that's 5 years at 20 hours a week. Oh, no, 10 years, sorry. That's 10 years at 20 hours a week. That's how the math works out on that. So when people say it takes, you know, it might take you 10 years, that's because you're putting 20 hours a week in. So what if you put in 40? You can cut that down to 5.
For 6.
What if you put into 60 like Dan just said? Now, we're not asking for that, but it's if you want to get there that much quicker, like we're saying, the magic number is usually around a year mark for everybody here. If you really put it in for a year and you make that decision, I mean, you have to have that decision that you're going to go win at this and you put enough time into it. You're like, okay, enough's enough. But we've also had people that come out right out the gate here and making that decision because they just became students right off the bat. And if you work on yourself, I'm going to make sure I do an hour here, an hour there every single day to learn my policies, learn this industry, become better than anybody else. The income is yours. But if you think it's just going to come and show up, I've seen enough people come through the door, guys, and go right out, and they had all types of skill sets. But the people that show up and continue to work on themselves always win. Right? It's not just about the quick one-hit wonders. All right, so this is the sheet that we want people to work on. So we're just going to take a quick couple minutes here, and then we're going to just go right into a video, guys. But this is that sheet. I'll also get to maybe Paige to send this one in the group too. I think Dana has, and she'll send them out. So just give me some for the back row. But this is your sheet, and then we're going to break it down very, very simply. And thanks, guys, for going a little bit longer here today. But each week we're going to have this sheet that you can set up for your team. And here we get down one more. But it's very simply, very quickly, every single week we're going to have this little sheet come out. I would recommend putting it in a book so you don't just have these papers because you just lose them. I'm just straight up honest. I used to do it. You just lose them unless you have a sweet old Duotang.
Or an iPad.
Or an iPad. There you go. So put it on your iPad. Know it because this is you're going to see your goal setting every single week. I mean, Paige and I have done other business before. If you write down your goals every single day, every single week, it just becomes part of you. There's something magical about you writing it down and putting some energy in towards it. So right off the bat, you must have specific goals. So I know Janelle was saying, don't put a timeline on it. You can always put a timeline on it because this is like, this is from Think and Grow Rich. But the idea is don't put stress because you don't hit it. Just be like, it might take longer, but here's my goal that I want to accomplish this by. If it doesn't hit it, doesn't mean you just take an adjustment. Like, okay, now I'm just gonna, add some time to that to go get it. But maybe I'll shorten for this certain goal. Maybe that's a little bit too much or something like that. So you want to have long-term goals. So this is what we went through, you guys, is what's your big pictures. So put some of your big pictures every single day. There's every single week that we're doing this, you're putting out, okay, my big picture is to have 5 companies and be worth $5 million, whatever it is. And then right underneath that long-term one, about halfway through, put this year's 1-year goal. So what's this 1 year's goal? Whether it's APV, saving lives, losing weight, or whatever your goal is for the year, I want to be, for me, I want to be under 200 pounds or something like that. Or whatever my goal is, what does that feel like? What does that look like? Right in there, so that I'm writing it down every single week and I'm having an emotion attached to it. What would that feel like? What would be nice to take my parents on that trip? Or whatever it is that your big goal is, you need to write that down every single week. Now we're going to continue to talk about this, so don't get too crazy about it, but just write down what your long-term goals are, and then right halfway through that one, what's your 1-year goal? And there's a whole science behind this, because the next one after that is your short-term goals. So short-term, quarterly, I would have my very first part, quarterly. What's my goal for the quarter? So I know you guys saw there was like 18.78 if I want to make 50 grand a year. So I want to make sure I hit 18.78, or I want to hit 30,000 APV and that's going to give me 100 grand a year. Whatever it is, you write down that one short term, and then halfway through it is your weekly goal. So each week you're going to write out, this is my weekly goal. This is what I wanted to accomplish this week coming on Monday to say my win. Hey, if you didn't hit it, that's fine. Come here, guys. I did this, this, and this, and this. My weekly goal was to make sure I did all the activities that I said I was going to do. So it was 3 calls a day, this and that. So the total of the week was 21 calls, whatever it was. You have that. That's where your sheet will come into effect because it actually goes down day by day. Making sense, guys?
Yep.
So each week we're going to go through this. So you just take 5 minutes just to make sure you're consistently just writing on it, and you're not just going like this. So I would definitely get a book behind this, because over a couple of weeks we're not going to run these off every single week, because I'll just know, just because I've always seen it, they just end up in the garbage can, and it's just like, oh, my big goal is to win at Yahtzee or whatever it is, right? Finally beat my mom. But here it is. And this big one here, you must develop a plan to achieve your goals. So this is what's going to break into that weekly one. This is your goals that you're measured, calls, presentations, sales, all that kind of stuff. That's your other sheet that's going to come into a play. So what's your plan to actually make those things happen? And you can also have in there in your health or whatever it is. It's all breaking down from long-term to short-term to what's your plan in your weekly, daily benefits and habits and all that kind of stuff. We're going to get back into habits. We're going to go through some trainings on a lot of these fun things, but it's all on this one piece of paper. This is right from Think and Grow Rich. So it's the formula from the Think and Grow and the Rich. You must decide, this is probably the big one, the price you're willing to pay. You have to write that down every single week. You know what I mean? Like, guys, just for myself, I used to play a lot of soccer in my life. And I used to play, 3 times a week. And then when I blew my knees out, I started coaching and putting extra time and having beers afterwards, all that kind of stuff. It's in direct correlation. When I stopped that, I started becoming way more wealthier and all that kind of stuff. Because I was taking, and it's nothing like you can't have your activities, but I was spending a lot of my energy and time there, on something that wasn't really getting me better. There's actually guys that weren't showing up to practices, and I'm driving across city to get there at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm the only one there, and I'm the coach. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, you got to find out what are some activities, what are some prices I'm willing to go pay. I love soccer more than anything, but now I don't watch soccer anymore. I don't play it as much anymore. And do I miss it? I don't know. I was maybe living somebody else's dream when I was watching it, and I was only hurting my body more. That kind of stuff. So yes, I do miss the camaraderie of the teams and all that kind of stuff, but there's certain things that if I want to have my goals, maybe I have to get rid of certain things in my life that are not really benefiting me. Because if you want to have the incredible life, you might have to cut out certain things that are not really benefiting you. Because a lot of times, I talk about this with my old puppy. Guys, I know what it feels like to have a puppy. I had a little tiny Lilu, who was her name. I didn't work. I would take this dog for 3 walks a day in the River Valley. This dog was a princess of all princesses. But let me just tell you what that dog, and this is from my actual personal experience, that dog actually took me away from my own success. Because I would be like this, oh, it's okay, as long as I have my dog loves me unconditionally. Of course your dog loves you unconditionally. But I would be like, oh, I won't do that today as long as, and it's hurtful because I loved that dog. But I understood over time that actually was preventing me because it was such a distraction. And I was allowing myself to be distracted behind certain things instead of going out there and going to do what I want in my life. So you have to find the distractions and things you're willing to pay the price for. And it sounds weird when I talk about a dog like that, but you can maybe relate it to something else in your life that you're spending some time on that might not be the most beneficial things, but sometimes we're just like, that's the most important thing in my life, right? It's to talk about my dog, right? It's crazy, right? When you start to learn about it, because I love my dog. I used to be like, oh, guys, Lilu, right? And I'm like, I used to do it all the time, and then I can't. Not the way I am now, but I mean, I had a friend come over and she talked about her dog for 45 minutes, and I said, well, I know everything I need to know about your dog, and I've seen pictures of your dog and all that kind of stuff, and I had no idea who this person was. It's kind of a weird thing, but I'm just saying, finding out what you're willing to pay for to go out there and go succeed for you and your family, because you're going to have to sacrifice something, because something's going to change, whether it's, maybe you just right now you have a bunch of useless time. Is everybody kind of...
Yeah, I think
I got some of that, right?
Yeah.
There's 24 hours in a day, and I know 5 of it, I am just looking at a wall or something. I don't know what it is that's going on. Like, how did this day go by, and I wasn't doing something, and we're going to watch it not this week, but another week after that, we're going to watch this video on intention. I mean, you can shape your life around, because you ever call somebody up, and it's a 45-minute phone call that can be done in 5. So have an intention with what your outcome looks like, and we're going to talk about that next week. And then the very last one here, you think about achieving your goals every single day. So afterwards, make sure you guys fill this out, and on Zoom, if you haven't been filling out already, fill this out. And we're going to take time every single week. I know we're running a little long here. I want to get through the video here to set us up for the right mood at the end here. But to make sure that you're going through this each and every single week. You have 3 days to the end of the start of the next year. And we're going to kick it off with Ray. Here, I think he's in BC on the 2nd, here on the 3rd. So we can start off the year, and then we start kicking things off, guys, into the next level. And now you have a few days to set this in, write it out, find your goals, put this thing, and when you're here and you're ready, you don't want to have every single week you're like, oh, I forgot about this. You want to be here, and you already know what it is without even looking at it. You're just writing it down because you've already worked on it. Make sense with everybody?
Yeah.
Right on. All right, so I'm just going to go to a quick video here, guys, to close things out.